Choose your main final edition before the patch comes live. What's up guys, Petko here. Less than 12 hours for the patch to go live. But again, a lot of people are still confused what the main, so I finally decided, you know what, it's time to update this bad boy for one last time before the patch goes live. And if there's interest of all of you maintaining this throughout the season, just let me know in the comments below, and I'll try to put effort in doing so. I mainly did this to choose my own ults, but it seems like you guys enjoyed seeing it. That's why I kept it going. So yeah, anyway, let's dive in. So from the last time we left this, I believe it was 3 weeks ago, we had Hunters on top. Now that means MM Hunter was on the very top. BM Hunter was actually following second. Unfortunately, after the several rounds of nerfs, as you can see, MM Hunter fell to the middle-ish of the brackets. Now keep in mind that MM Hunter is still going to be a fantastic choice for like low level to mid level keys, simply because they possess amazing burst damage profile, which means you're going to capitalize on classes that require more ramp up time. For example, let's say Shadow Priest can beat MM in high level keys, however on low level keys MM can outperform you. Or just think about any spec that requires ramp up time against MM, which is pretty bursty. So I think it's still going to be fine if you're a casual player, even like above casual player. But if you're pushing for rank 1 title also, there are better options out there. Fire Mage dropped significantly. So Fire Mage was previously top 5, and it went all the way to like bottom 5. Several rounds of nerfs to Fire Mage, and pretty much Arcane and Frost, in my opinion, are just better right now, and that's why it just fell down to the blazings. But again, if they get to be buffed, obviously it goes higher. Enhanced Shaman, honestly, I haven't really seen any positive changes for the past couple of like, tuning weeks. Hence why their rating hasn't changed at all since the last time they got nerfed. And yeah, I think that's about Enhanced. Enhanced utility, just like Ellie, I think is extremely strong for next season. But if you're talking about damage, the single target is subpar. I think it needs a bit more love. And the AOE is still fantastic, I would say. But in a grand scheme of things, there are better specs out there. Affliction Lock climbed most definitely the rankings by I think at least 7 spots. Following the most recent single target buffs, para target and final target damage buffs, which definitely help. In my opinion, Affliction is one of the highest para targets right now in Mythic Plus if you consider funnel. Maybe not as good, maybe not as good as Arcane. Maybe we're just gonna put it as 9, but it's just really strong. Obviously, Arcane and us have, in my opinion, better prio as well as Havoc, but Affliction is definitely top 5, like no joke. Moving forward to Early Shaman. Okay, so Early Shaman has followed single target buffs, I believe, 2 weeks ago. And ever since then, we have improved their single target rankings from, I believe, 6.5 to 8.5, which is substantial. It was around 13.5% buff on single target when you play Stormbringer, and if you play Farseer, which again, you play that only in raid, it's quite substantial, roughly around 22.5%. Which is incredible amount of buffs done to Elemental. I haven't placed AoE damage as 10 just because of the RNG element attached to it. There are times where you don't get to have any procs in an existing pack. You don't have cooldowns, and you end up doing tank damage even if you sufficiently hold cooldowns, hold procs, etc. I still think to be problematic. But obviously, if Stars Alliance and you get to have consistent procs throughout every pack, then obviously Elemental is absolutely incredible. Speaking about rogues, I know you guys could ask me how come rogues went from bottom 10 DPS to like top 5, top 2 DPS. First of all, I believe Rogue to be the highest DPS class in the game right now when it comes down to AoE. The best per target, maybe either the best or second best with Havoc DH right now, but the AoE is most definitely better than Havoc. Hence why they climbed the rankings. The single target also improved, although in my opinion still can be problematic in a pure ST without funnel. Yeah, I think overall rogues climbed a lot, especially both Asa and Sub-Rogue. The only reason why we gave Sub-Rogue as well 10 is because if you consider Sub-Rogue to be played in a casual level keys, the sheer front load burst is just pretty much unmatched. There are very few specs that can capitalize on the front load burst that Sub can dish out. But obviously, if you play extremely high level keys, Asa is going to catch up and likely beat you. But for any keys that are casual or above casual, even to rank 1 keys, Sub can also be a fantastic choice. Hence why we gave you 10, but maybe we should have given 9.5. Whatever. That doesn't really matter. I will just, I'm just here to showcase stuff. Moving forward to the Frost Mage. So Ironically, Frost Mage has been getting, little buffs here and there. And most definitely they've climbed the rankings because of this. I believe Frost Mage to be the best mage pick when it comes down to pure output, both in AoE and single target. But the value of Frost Mage is not as high as Arcane. Arcane funnel damage and para damage is definitely better, which will likely make them a prime candidate when it comes down to Mage in Mythic Plus. Again, keep in mind that there are going to be dungeons where you don't need as much prio, or at least you play in a group comp where prio is not needed. Let's say if you play with Asarok, Havoc GH, Asarok, Frost Decay, you might not want to have triple DPS that can do funnel / prio. So maybe you can play alternative Frost Mage just for more AoE damage. Again, just an example. But I still believe Frost to be one of the best mages so far. Frost Decay has been nerfed. As you can see, they were before 10, 10, 10. Now it's 9, 9.5. They drop a little bit rating, but they're still one of the strongest melee specs out there. Maybe like second or third strongest, which is still a fantastic choice. Unholy is still gonna be a slapper. I don't think the prior damage of Unholy is as good as Frost Decay, not to my understanding, or at least not with the builds that I was testing. But if that gets to be improved, I think Unholy is probably gonna be on par with Frost Decay, if not better in some cases. Destruction Lock climbed from the bottom. I think it was previously like around this spot, like bottom half for sure. It went all the way up simply because of their raw AoE output and also single target buffs, which I think has helped the spec quite a bit. But if you are looking for a spec that can do the most amount of mass AoE damage, I'm talking about, let's say, 15, 20 targets and above this, Destro is your go-to spec. Like, it's absolutely incredible, especially if you have a PI or any haste amplifiers. Looks fantastic. I don't like Destro prior damage, however, that's why we ranked it 2. There is pretty much no prior in that damage, pure AoE. And you can make a point with, conflagrate the main target, or maybe shadow burn main target for eradication, etc. Again, when you play 20 targets, that don't really matter. Like, it's just bad. It's just bad prio. But maybe if you have 2 classes that can do prio, you don't need to do it yourself. Let me just check any other. Yeah, Demonology Lock dropped a few spots down, as I already mentioned. They were previously considered top 5. They got nerfed a few times in a row, so now we have them as still top 11 spec, which is fair enough. If you compare the 26 specs in a game, you to be 11, I think that's pretty good. That's considered above average, but no longer exceptional in my opinion. We're having also Devastation Evoker, one of the picks a lot of people are still going to be surprised this season. I think Devastation Evoker mass AoE damage is absolutely incredible. In my opinion, one of the highest so far, maybe like top 5 the highest, which is obviously arguably the best it's ever been for the past, I think, since the War Within, I believe. It's very good AoE damage. ST is also looking too good. They've been nerfed around 3% last week, but they're still fantastic. And contrary to what people think, prior damage is okay. It's not crazy. It's not bad. I think it's okay. So that's why I put it 7. So about Warriors, we have ranked Fury Warrior as the best Warrior spec, even though it's capped compared to Arms Warrior. Perhaps in a full physical comp in some of the dungeons, in mass AoE dungeons, you might want to play Arms over Fury, but overall Fury should be better in majority of the dungeons right now. So it's not completely a dead spec as you guys, would think so. And finally, we have here Retribution Paladin and Windwalker Monk. Red Paladin climbed a few spots up simply because of the AoE damage going higher. The prior damage is too bad, that's why we placed it 4. You can also play Executioner Sentence. That can also increase your prior damage by a little bit more, for sure. You might drop some AoE for that though. So I guess it depends on a dungeon and what you actually need, but Executioner Sentence can actually be a viable alternative per se. Windwalker Monk, I believe it dropped a few spots down simply because of the single target nerfs and AoE nerfs. They got nerfed around 7.3% on ST and around 3.7%. The AoE department hasn't changed. We didn't drop any ratings because we believe that the AoE nerf wasn't as big, but the single target went from 8.5 to 8. It could even be lower than 8, but right now we're trying to be generous with monks, which they can still make it to the place. If you're playing with Prot Warrior, maybe you get a monk just for a physical mystic touch, but who knows. Shadow Priest rankings unchanged. Nothing has changed for Shadow Priest for the past couple of weeks. DH, nothing has changed as well. So I think that's everything in terms of TLDR. What to expect next? Probably some buffs coming for Enhancement Boomy, to be honest with you. I haven't really seen any positive changes in a while, so I want to be surprised. And once again, if you guys want me to maintain this spreadsheet throughout the season, let me know. I've also made this spreadsheet as a guide to Night Events because it's quite laggy when it comes down to having 1,000 people on the spreadsheet. So that's why I said, you know what, I'm just gonna transfer this here. So I'm gonna leave it down below if you guys want to take a look. But yeah, thank you for watching, and if you enjoy this kind of content and like WoW stuff and you want to keep up with most important things WoW related, make sure to subscribe to the channel. See you guys next time. Bye for now.